This lesson will explain ice covers, cracks, developing an ice safety plan, cold water survival. Generations of Canadians have traveled over frozen rivers and lakes, from fishing and hunting to recreational purposes such as skiing, skating, and snowmobiling. And chances are you already know a bit about the hazards of being around the ice. And of course, one of the main concerns is falling on or through it. Falling through ice can result in injuries such as hypothermia or drowning. The good news is there are a few things you can look for to help decrease the risks of working around ice covers. First things first, why do ice covers break? Well, there are a few reasons. The ice might already be damaged or otherwise compromised. The operations may be overloading the ice, or the ice may be too thin to support the weight of operations. There are four types of ice that you may encounter. Clear blue ice. This is ice that forms under the surface of the water. According to the Canadian Red Cross, clear blue ice that allows you to see deep into water is the safest ice to be on. While it may seem contradictory, it means that the water was calm when it froze, creating an even, thick, and strong layer of ice. White ice. White ice forms on top of the water's surface, usually from being frozen and thawed over and over again. Typically, it is only half as strong as clear blue ice. Slush or gray ice. Slush indicates very weak ice, and it should be avoided at all costs. It is made up of tiny ice particles and typically form in agitated or turbulent water. It can also be the result of snow and ice melting. And finally, jam ice. Ice jams are an accumulation of ice on bodies of water. As the water flows, it may move pieces of ice to one area where they jam together, top form an uneven and thick ice cover. However, these thick pieces of ice do not mean they are stable. Remember, ice jams can only be formed by moving water, which means these ice formations can be made up of all types of thicknesses and stabilities of ice formations. Now, imagine this for a minute. It's a beautiful winter day. You are out on perfectly clear blue ice, skating or making your way to the perfect fishing spot, when suddenly, crack! Many different factors can affect the integrity of the ice. These can happen naturally or be man-made. Natural factors mostly have to do with the weather. Temperature fluctuations cause thermal contractions and expansions. In warmer weather, contraction cracks spread evenly across the ice and water begins to fill in the cracks. When the temperature drops, the ice refreezes and creates pressure ridges. This, of course, can be impacted by the time of season. During the early season, heavy snowfall impedes ice growth and capacity by shielding it from the cold air. When the temperature is above freezing, the quality of the ice significantly decreases, even though it may be the same thickness. If the temperature drops quickly, as we mentioned earlier, the ice becomes vulnerable because it will contract and crack. Two types of cracks are caused by changes in temperature and ice thickness. Dry cracks, which do not go all the way to the bottom of the ice cover, and wet cracks, which go all the way through the ice cover and allow water to come to the surface of the ice cover. Overweight snowbanks and heavy equipment can also cause cracks in ice due to excessive weight. Overloading an ice cover can result in radial cracks, which look like spokes in a wheel, or circumferential cracks, which form a circle around the load. Both of these are dangerous, and you should immediately get everyone to move a safe distance away. So, why have we spent the time explaining ice and cracks? Great question. We did that so we can show you how to put that knowledge to use in an ice safety plan. You see, employers and workers at a worksite must conduct a hazard assessment and implement an ice safety plan to eliminate or control the hazards. There are 4 steps for building an ice safety plan. Step 1. Identify existing or potential hazards and determine how to eliminate or control them. This should be done before work begins, and the affected workers must be involved. An ice cover emergency response plan must also be developed at this time. Step 2. Develop an ice safety plan. The ice safety plan should include hazard elimination, hazard controls, and an emergency response plan. Step 3. Inform all workers affected by the ice safety plan and confirm their awareness and understanding. It also means having copies of the ice safety plan readily available to everyone on the worksite. Finally, step 4 is to review the hazard controls at reasonable intervals to prevent the development of any unsafe working conditions. The hazard controls should be reviewed when there is a change in the work environment. The ice safety plan should be part of your employer's standard operating procedures. Standard operating procedures are an effective means of controlling hazards through administrative controls. Many of the standard operating procedures included in the ice safety plan are related to vehicles on the ice. Let's look at some of the most critical points. Restrict traffic to vehicles that have a gross vehicle weight that meets the requirements for the current ice conditions. While an ice safety plan can help keep you safe, there are no guarantees when working around ice covers. So, what if? What if something goes wrong and you end up falling through the ice into the cold water below? Is there any chance of surviving? There are 3 critical phases of cold water immersion. First, cold shock. Cold shock is an initial gasp followed by hyperventilation that occurs when a person falls into cold water. It should pass in about a minute. The best thing to do is remain calm and get control of your breathing. Second is cold incapacitation. Approximately 10 minutes after cold shock occurs, you will lose the ability to move your fingers, arms, and legs. It is critical that this time is spent on self-rescue and keeping your airway clear. And third, hypothermia. If you've ever learned about hypothermia before, it is a medical emergency that occurs when your body loses heat faster than it can produce heat, causing a dangerously low body temperature. Even in ice water, it should take approximately 1 hour before becoming unconscious and potentially drowning due to hypothermia. Dr. Gordon Giesbright, Canada's leading researcher in hypothermia, explains that there are 4 possibilities that could play out if someone falls through the ice into the water. Keep in mind that drowning, not hypothermia, is the more immediate concern. Possibility 1. The person gasps for air, panics, sucks in water, and drowns within the first minute or 2. Possibility 2. The person survives the initial gasping for air, but over the next 10 minutes, their muscles become cold and ineffective, and they can no longer tread water. If they are not wearing a flotation device, their head and airway will slip beneath the water and they will drown. Possibility 3. The person manages to hang on to the ice or stay afloat. Over the next hour, they shiver and cool off. Eventually, the person will lose consciousness, and if some part of their body or clothing is not frozen to the ice, they slip below the surface and drown. And possibility 4. The person did not panic, was able to keep their head above water even after losing consciousness because they were frozen to the ice. If the individual is not rescued in the next hour or 2, they may develop severe hypothermia and freeze to death. As you can see, the most immediate danger isn't hypothermia, it's actually drowning. Here's some advice from Dr. Giesbright on how to rescue yourself and others. For the first minute after falling through the ice, your initial reaction will be to gasp for air in reaction to the cold water. Instead, stay calm and don't thrash in the water. Slowly tread water and grab the edge of the ice to keep your head above water. Once you get through that first minute, the gasping will calm down, the skin will become numb, and the sensation of intense cold will decrease. You now have about 10 minutes to try to get out of the water. Keep your hands and arms on the ice and kick your feet. This will turn you horizontal, parallel to the ice surface. Once horizontal, kick with your feet while pulling with your hands and arms. You should be able to propel yourself onto the ice. Don't stand up. Instead, keep your weight spread out as you roll, crawl, and slide across the ice. If you were unable to get out of the water, after about 10 minutes, your arms and legs will become progressively useless due to heat loss. You will start to feel numb and shivery, and you could well become unconscious within the next 60 minutes. This will all depend on what you are wearing, your body build, and energy stores. While this may seem pretty bleak, unless you slip below the water and drown, you are still a long way from death by hypothermia. If you lose consciousness but do not slip below the water, you can still be successfully rescued if you are found within 2 hours. Long story short, follow the ice safety plan and wear a flotation device if measuring ice in unknown conditions. If you do fall through the ice, don't panic. Get horizontal and pull and kick your way onto the ice where someone can help you.
Alright, when you first go in, you're going to go through cold water shock, which will last about 1 minute to 3 minutes. At this time, your whole goal is to keep your head above water and not panic. Once you get your hyperventilating under control, which is normal, is when you want to concentrate on getting out. Woo! This lasts about 1 minute or so, and your body will start to calm down. All right. Now, when you get out, you obviously know the ice is safe that you walked on before you fell through. So try to retrace your tracks that you came in on, which is right here for me. So what I want to do is try to get as much of my body out of the ice or out of the water as possible and onto the ice. If I don't have picks, I'm going to kick my legs and try to work myself up. You can see this is so slippery, it's almost impossible to get up here without picks. But you can do it. And once you're up, you want to roll away and get out to dry land. You want to get wet clothes off as soon as possible. Now, if you have picks like this is just stupid. Keep them around your neck. Get yourself up. Kick your legs. Pull yourself out.